What's up, guys? I'm Dan. I'm live here in Food Network Kitchen, and I'm working on this watercolor cake. These watercolor cakes are really trendy right now, and I'm almost done. I've been painting this cake here. It's a fondant-covered cake, and what I did to kind of section this cake off was just take strips of parchment paper that I just cut up, and I stuck the strips to the cake using a little bit of vegetable shortening. So my fondant cake is nice and cold, so it's nice and solid, and now I'm painting on the fondant with some edible watercolor, which is really easy to make. You just mix together some vodka or lemon extract or orange extract, whatever you want to use, and then gel color. So the same gel color that I use to color fondant or color buttercream just gets mixed with the vodka, and you get this edible watercolor. So it paints on fondant really nicely, and then it dries. So what I'm doing is blending these colors together, and then after I finish and it dries, I'll tear off the paper, or I'll pull it off gently, I should say, and then I'm going to be left with this really awesome sectioned off watercolor cake. So I love this technique because it's a lot easier than it looks. It's a really kind of organic technique. Every time you do this cake, it turns out a little bit differently. So you kind of just roll with the punches. It's like a surprise every time you finish it because it always looks different.
Cynthia just joined. She says she loves this.
Hey, Cynthia, thanks. I'm glad you're watching. What's really cool about this technique too is that you don't have to do it on a full cake. You could roll out some fondant and let the fondant dry a little bit, and you can paint on top of the fondant with this watercolor and then cut out like tiles, and they would make really great cupcake toppers. You could also use them to decorate a cake that was frosted in buttercream. And if you had a buttercream frosted cake and the buttercream was cold enough, you can paint on cold buttercream as well. So this is a really versatile technique. So once I get to this point where it almost looks finished, what I like to do is take a larger paintbrush and just a little bit of plain vodka, and I clean off the brush a little bit, and then you can use the vodka just like water to blend the colors together. So they meet really nicely and they all kind of flow together. And another trick that I'm using here today is using all warm colors. So I have orange, red, and yellow. So that just means that when they all mix together and they all kind of mold together, they're really friendly. They, still look really bright. They're not going to create any off colors or any dark colors because they're all warm colors.
Kimberly just joined. She says she wants to try this by herself at home.
Kimberly, you definitely should. All you need is a cake covered in fondant. You could also just use a buttercream cake, just like I said. It's really simple, and if you try it, you can share it with me on my Facebook page, Baked by Dan. I love when people share pictures of cakes. Makes me smile every time.
Angelica just joined, and she's wondering where you got the inspiration for this.
Angelica, I actually was on Instagram the other day. I was scrolling through my feed, and I was on an Instagram page by a girl named Aria, I believe, Aria from Surely Simple. And she had this really cool thing she was working on where she taped off this ceramic tile and was painting on it with watercolor. So shout out to Aria for the inspiration for this cake here.
Callan is wondering if she has to heat up the vodka and let it cool down.
No, Callan, you don't have to heat up the vodka. You can use it straight out of the bottle, straight out of the shot glass, whatever you want to do. You just mix the vodka or any clear alcohol, really, that's food safe, with the gel colors, and you get this paint. Super easy.
Allison loves watching Baked by Dan.
Thanks, Allison.
And
I'm glad you like to watch it.
She's wondering what your favorite part is of the show.
Oh, geez. Allison, my favorite part of filming Baked by Dan is probably creating the giant food cakes. My favorite episode so far was the giant bacon, egg, and cheese bagel cake. It's actually my favorite breakfast. So to be able to create that in cake form, like 10 times its normal size, was super awesome.
Becky's wondering, what is the paper on top of the cake here?
Becky, so what I did was just take some parchment paper, just cut it into strips. They don't have to be perfect strips at all. The same stuff you would use like to put on a cookie sheet. And you just use vegetable shortening to make the paper sticky so you can stick it to the cake before you paint. So this looks pretty dry. I don't have any puddles of vodka or anything. So at this point, all that's left to do is peel off the paper and the magic is kind of revealed. So let's start doing that. Sometimes when you go to peel off one strip, it gets snagged by another. So it's kind of like a little bit of a trick finding which strip you put on first. But if a few peel off at the same time, It's totally cool. It doesn't matter. So you just peel these back carefully. You don't want to smudge it. Yeah?
So fans want to know if you're able to tease an upcoming episode of Baked by Dan.
Ooh, definitely. Yeah. So every Monday, Dan Can Bake It is on Food Network YouTube. And this coming Monday, I'm challenged to bake with this crazy fruit. You guys may have heard of it. It's large, it's in charge, it's a little smelly. People say it's the world's smelliest fruit. And I had to bake with it. So you guys are going to have to tune in on Monday to Dan Can Bake It to see what happens, because it was pretty wild, I can tell you that. I think that was the last strip. There it is. So it's that easy. You put the strips on the cake, you paint the cake with the watercolor, you peel them off, and you get this really organic, really awesome abstract design. It's different every time. I love it so much.
Amazing. All right, last question. Can you
Yeah.
tell fans where they can find Dan Can Bake It?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Dan Can Bake It. It's on Food Network's YouTube every Monday at 1 p.m. It's also on foodnetwork.com. And I also share it on my Instagram and Facebook page, which is Baked by Dan.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for watching, guys.